Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is great. I honestly think that the critics properly gassed up this movie this time. I think that everything they said about it pretty much is accurate. I think it's the darkest MCU film that we've ever seen. They really pushed that PG-13 ratings with some of the gore that's in this. It's really some genuinely disturbing stuff. Rocket is basically the main character of this movie, and his story is as emotional and heartbreaking as the trailers have suggested. You will most likely be crying a couple times in this movie. I certainly did. Um, I think Star Lord is a close second behind Rocket in terms of the impactful story that's told. But honestly, all of the Guardians had a perfect conclusion in this movie. James Gunn managed to wrap the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy perfectly. I've only seen it once. Maybe things will change after I've seen it, but yeah, I would go so far as to say that the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is the best trilogy of the MCU. Captain America is second, but I think the first Avenger kind of drags the movie down. It's just not on the level of Civil War and with the Winter Soldier. While all three Guardians of the Galaxy movies, in my opinion, are peak fiction, as film Twitter would say. um, yeah, the action also is really solid this time around. Especially there's this absolutely incredible like one shot sequence that is my jaw was kind of on the floor the entire time I was watching it. Like I'd heard that it was coming, so that I'd heard about this sequence, so I could kind of tell when it was setting it up, but still I was not prepared for how cool it was. But yeah, man, James Gunn is absolutely leaving the MCU on a high note, and considering how just genuinely great this movie is, I would honestly argue, while yes, this is absolutely a win for the MCU because it is an MCU movie. It is a Marvel Studios production. I think most general audiences aren't obviously going to be talking about, like, they don't even know that the director of this movie is going to be the new head of DC Studios. So this is obviously a win for the MCU. The MCU absolutely needed this win. We'll see how it does at the box office. But as far as like we're concerned, like the people talking about the industry, this is a much bigger win for DC. Like the fact that based on the quality of stuff that we've gotten with Phase 4, James Gunn comes in and drops this and lets us know, by the way, I'm heading over to DC now. Yeah. I think this movie should absolutely shut up people who think that, I don't know if I want James Gunn directing Superman Legacy. I'm like, dude, James Gunn, the amount of emotion that he's able to put into his movies, as wacky as they are, should absolutely give us hope that, yeah, he'll probably make a good Superman movie. But anyways, I'm getting off topic. I would say, as far as criticisms that I would have of the movie, not all of the humor worked for me. Like there were some moments of humor that I thought, like there were some running gags that I was like, that wasn't the funniest. But most of the humor worked for me. I definitely, like, as much as I cried during the movie, most of the time the humor worked. I don't think it ever detracts from the seriousness of the movie. Now, there is another criticism that I've heard regarding Adam Warlock. I'll be honest, hopefully, I don't know if you're going to consider this a spoiler or not, but I don't really think it is. Adam Warlock is barely in the movie, but honestly, it wasn't a problem for me because I feel like most of the people complaining about Adam Warlock either A, probably have preconceived notions of the character. I personally don't know anything about the character, so I don't have any preconceived notions of it, but I think it's also people were going into this movie expecting Adam Warlock to have a more prominent role. He doesn't have a prominent role, and I don't think that people would complain about that of the character in this movie if it wasn't Adam Warlock with their preconceived notions of him supposed to having had a prominent role. Did that make sense? I don't know if that sentence made sense. But me personally, I didn't have any problems with Adam Warlock. But other than that, I mean, dude, especially compared to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the movie looks beautiful. The CGI actually looks really good. Um, it's a win for Marvel Studios, and they really needed a win. I do think that this is going to land with audiences. We'll see how it does at the box office. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, just a massive slap in the face at Marvel. I think that movie barely crossed 400 million, if I remember correctly. I think for sure this movie will cross 400 million, but will it reach like 800 million? Which is kind of where I would say this movie needs to reach in order to really be considered a success. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, and the movie's great at the end of the day. Like, who cares about about like the how it's going to affect Marvel or the MCU, blah, blah blah. The movie on its own is great. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy on its own, yeah, you kind of do have to watch Infinity War Endgame and the holiday special, but this trilogy on its own, even if you didn't watch it, to be honest, absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, I had a really good time with it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.